So, who makes the best cordless die grinder? Let's get each of these on the dyno, go ahead and load them down with all the available batteries and see which one produces the highest watts. Then we'll go ahead and take a closer look and determine which one is the best. So the dyno's had some little upgrades here, shielding, better balanced driveline. So if you haven't seen this before, we're loading the tool down. I've got a rotation and force sensor inside this box. Then we have a CNC cheap motor off of Amazon, which is being loaded down by an electric load cell. The data from the RPM and the force is going to the laptop, and that's what's giving us the watts reading. So the Milwaukee inline die grinder here, max watts, pretty much what I would expect here, with the 1.5 being the lowest and the 5.0 producing the highest watts. Typical 1/4-inch collet here with a shaft wrench and a nut wrench. 3-speed with 10,000, 15,000, and 21,000. Lever design similar to Air Tools, and some vibration dampening here, along with in the battery compartment there, which is interesting. It definitely makes getting the battery in and back out a little harder compared to the other Milwaukee 12-volt tools. Other than that, it does have an LED light on the front. Now the right angle, pretty much the same here, a little bit more watts, not much. Same collet setup with wrenches. You do have that impact vibration dampening there between the grip and the head. Paddle, LED light, 4 speeds, and in this case, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, and then 24,500. Bosch, the new one on the market. Performance-wise, yeah, not that great, honestly. About the same as the Milwaukee there. Does have a safety trigger there. So in white, you have the preset, and then in green, you have the battery level. So presets go from 5,000 all the way up to 15,000. I do like this shaft lock, which we've seen on the cutoff tool. And then it does come with the collet nut wrench. But the biggest drawback, in my opinion, to this tool is that it comes with a 6mm collet. And you can order an optional 8. They do not list a 6.35mm collet, which would be 1/4 inch, which, well, I mean, that's the common accessory shank size. So really disappointed in that. The Snap-on inline, what's great for me at least is they only offer one battery, so the 2.5 amp hour there with max watts of 274. So yes, this is higher than the inline Milwaukee, with an on-off switch and then 7 speed adjustments right here on this rotary dial, and a high-low. So in low, you're actually looking at 3,000 to 7,500 RPM, and then in high, you're looking at 10,000 to 25,000 RPM. But again, that 7-position adjustable range in either high or low. Standard 1/4-inch collet, it does have a shaft lock, so you can use that. And then it comes with 2 wrenches. Snap-on right angle, a little bit less than the inline, which is to be expected because the motor is here, unlike on the Milwaukee where the motor is right here. So there is some loss in this gearbox. It's interesting that the power numbers here are almost identical between these two. You have that on-off button there with those 7 positions. There's no high-low on this one. Speed-wise on the Snap-on 90 here is a little bit different. Unlike on the straight grinder where you had 7 set positions, here it's actually variable. Giving you 9,500 RPM all the way up to 28,000. Same 1/4-inch collet. You do have a shaft lock right here. Comes again with those 2 same wrenches. But what's interesting is this one also comes with the 1/8-inch collet. The Ryobi downright blows the other ones out of the water, with our max watts here ranging from 537 with that base 2 amp hour all the way up to 684 if you're running the 12 amp hour. But by far the best combination is using the old 3 amp hour with 21700s, producing 589 watts. 4 modes here from 10,000 all the way up to 22,000. LED light, 1/4-inch collet with the shaft lock button right there. And it does come with a wrench. Overall, quite impressive, seeing that is the cheapest one here. Now, with each of them loaded down to 15,000 RPMs, again, the Bosch, the Milwaukee, and the Snap-on are right there power-wise with each other. But then when you look at the Ryobi with the 3 amp hour, we're 2.5 times the others, and 3 times if you actually run that 12 amp hour battery. And pretty much the same story here when we look at overall max watts before the tool cuts off. General information table with the model, where it's made, warranty, cost for tool only, cost for kit, claimed RPM, tested RPM, and then the weight with the ideal battery configuration. Now when we look at max power, again, Ryobi comes out on top. Then we look at power to weight, still Ryobi comes out on top, even with the 3 amp hour battery. And then cost to watts ratio, now this is comparing it with the 4 amp hour, you're looking at 33 cents per watt. To put all this in perspective, so what's interesting here is when you look at the cost per watt, the Milwaukees are about 3.5 times more than Ryobi, and then 6 times for the Snap-on. And this is even taking in consideration with knocking off one battery out of the kit and dropping that kit price down. We'll do a quick sound check here, get the dB. While I'm doing that, I did get a vibration meter, so I'll take a vibration reading of each right where your palm would sit at the maximum RPM. So dB wise, yes, it's kind of hard to go off of these numbers, but the Bosch is the lowest here with the Snap-on, right angle coming in at the highest. Vibration, pretty much the same actually, with the Snap-ons here having the highest vibration and the Bosch with the lowest. All right, so what's my overall take? The Bosch here, last on power, last one here to the market. Really doesn't seem like they put too much effort into this, especially considering a 6mm collet. At least with the cutoff tool, it's made in Germany. This is made in China. Hopefully, if it officially ever comes to North America, you know, we do get that 6.35 or 1/4 collet. Inline die grinders, pretty much the same performance from what I found between the Snap-on and the Milwaukee here. I would say I prefer the Snap-on here over the Milwaukee for a couple reasons. The up to 14 speeds, again we have 7 speeds and then we have the high-low, you have the shaft lock, and then you have this extended narrower shaft here to be able to get into those tight situations. So if you already have the 14.4 line, I would say you definitely do consider the Snap-on as an option. And honestly, the same thing can be said here about the right angles. 4 speeds versus 7 speeds. Again, you have that shaft lock, so you only need 1 wrench. Tool is longer, providing greater access. And the actual head size here with a 90 degree is something I think you really need to also consider. Looking at about 4.5 inches, 4.4, and then only 3 inches here. So there's actually about 1.5 inches difference there between the Snap-on and the Milwaukee. But by far my number 1 pick is going to be the Ryobi in this case. It's the cheapest and it has over double the performance versus the rest. Yes, you can argue the drawback of the head. Potentially it could be a problem. I've had it for over a year now and haven't run into that scenario. And for me, if I ever did, I would just pull out the old 90-degree air die grinder. But one thing that's interesting to think about is, you know, TTI owns Ryobi and Milwaukee, and I did test this with this 12 amp hour battery, which this 12 amp hour battery produces a voltage drop similar to the Forge. So personally, I think Milwaukee needs to talk to Ryobi, paint this red, stick a forged battery on it, and then your 700 watts. I'm sure if they did that, the price would go up, but so no, I did not forget the larger inline die grinders. This dyno setup will not handle this, I can tell you that right now. This motor nor the load cells are capable of that. So for these, I've been working on a larger high-speed dyno because of course these are running around 30,000 RPM. Again, things are going to stay consistent with this load cell and RPM. So we can go back and look at the data from this when we have the data from these larger ones and see how they do compare. So to me, Ryobi is number one here. You know, Snap-on and Milwaukee neck and neck there with the same power. I think Snap-on adds a few more features over Milwaukee, but again, you have that higher price. So it's really up to if you already have the 14.4 platform. And then coming in last with this Bosch, yeah, pretty much a letdown in my opinion. Would have been great if it was 5 years ago. Let us know in the comments if you have any of these and how they've worked for you. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.